The 2024 federal budget has just been released, and there is barely a half a page dedicated to veterans issues in a 430-page document. Find out how this is possibly the case by tuning in to the rest of the episode. Welcome back, folks. If this is your first time tuning into the channel, welcome. Come on in, have a seat, make sure to hit the like, subscribe, and bell notification so that you can get more of these delivered to you on a regular cadence, because I'm releasing videos every week. If you want to support the channel one layer further, you can go grab a slick dad hat like I'm wearing right now. Summer's right around the corner. We're going to need those hats to protect our faces, make sure we don't get that glare in our eyes when we're out playing catch with the kids. So you can find the links here in the description. I'd really appreciate you grabbing some merch. But today we're focusing on what is going on in the federal government with respects to veterans issues. And again, when it comes down to dollars and cents and the well-being and health of our veterans, clearly this should be a bigger issue than what the current government is making it. And out of a 430-page document, there should be at least more than half a paragraph to take care of those that serve their country and that fought, bled, and died in the sands of Afghanistan. Just saying. So let's get right into it. All right, so we're going to start with the CBC video here that is just going to go over the generalities of what the budget is all about. If you're an American tuning in, hey man, same thing up here as down south, right? We got to table a budget and then it's got to get voted on. It goes through the whole process. So just to put things in context for you, the only thing is that, man, I really can't stand listening to these politicians. They're really grinding my gears, but hey, let's get this show on the road and let's see what our good old pal here, JT, has to say.
This budget is about fairness for every generation.
With billions of dollars in promises already made to win back younger voters, the finance minister revealed how she plans to pay for it.
We're making Canada's tax system more fair by ensuring that the very wealthiest pay their fair share.
I don't know about you guys, but man, I have a hard time listening to her. She sounds like that teacher you had that patronized you on everything, even though you're 16 years old. Do you know what I'm talking about? Anyways, it's hard for me to listen to this, so let's just push through.
Chrystia Freeland targeting 40,000 of the richest Canadians. The idea to tax them more on capital gains over $250,000 a year, like their profit on selling a second property.
Today, it is possible for a nurse or a carpenter to pay tax at a higher marginal rate than a multi-millionaire. That's not fair.
I don't want to turn this into a finance channel, but there's some glaring holes with that rationale. Namely, when it comes to capital gains, that relates to investment. Canada has one of the worst investment levels of like all the OECD countries. So now you're going to strip away the capacity to earn more from your capital gains. Is going to scare away foreign investors 100%. It's going to scare away me. So just Canada, just the way we are.
Capital gains earned by 300,000 companies and trusts will be hit too.
And now that I think of it too, what about the hundreds of billions of dollars that the CRA is not even going to go look for that was given out during the COVID era? They're just giving all these individuals and companies a pass because they said, we're not going to be able to recoup that money. There's like hundreds of billions of dollars. Anyways, let me interrupt you for a hot minute because I want to go over my brand new Veterans Getting Fit AF community. This is the next iteration in getting 100,000 veterans down 2 million pounds. We're going to be able to do this because this community is designed specifically to deliver every last bit of knowledge and experience that I've accumulated over the last 4 years of coaching veterans to you in a standardized, educational, community-based format. So let's dig right in. If we head to the community tab here, this is the best community layout I've ever seen. You're going to be able to ask questions. You're going to be able to define what the questions are about, and then you're able to get answers right away. Not only that, if you head into the classroom, tons of courses are being built out right now. Specifically, the BEAST program is here. So the program that I've been bringing veterans in to do for the last 4 years on a one-on-one basis is now open to you to do at your own pace. And the beauty about this is we can have hundreds, thousands, 100,000 veterans all doing this program, getting leaner, fitter, and harder to kill. When we head to the calendar tab, this is where we have our community chats, so Q&As every week. Right now we've got 2 a week, and we got tons of guest speakers that have confirmed that they want to come and chat with you in this community. So you get to download all their top tier information. Additionally, you have leaderboards, so it's a game. The more you participate, the more you get rewarded, and the more chances you have of winning prizes. So this is the Veterans Getting Fit AF community, and I want you to join for the low introductory price of $28 per month. This is going to go up over time. So get in now, bring your friends. You can have lifetime access at this rate if you get in now. So go into the description below. Go click on the link, and if you have any questions, make sure to send me an email at dave@davemorrow.net. I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have. All right, back to the episode.
New revenue is pegged at bringing in more than $19 billion over the next 5 years, but economists are skeptical it will actually work.
Individuals that will pay, consultants, tax consultants, in order to identify the best ways to distribute their wealth across the globe in order to diminish their tax.
Those taxes would help top up a housing accelerator fund, fast track construction on rental apartments, and free up government land like these old Defense Department buildings and Canada Post properties to help build nearly 4 million new homes by 2031. There isn't a path to balancing the budget, but the government plans to cut the deficit in half in 5 years.
Conservatives.
Sorry, there isn't a plan, but they expect to cut it in half. What does that even mean? Let's go, PRP. What do you guys say?
Will vote against this wasteful inflationary budget that is like a pyromaniac spraying gas on the inflationary fire that he lit.
The NDP says it's disappointed the Liberals aren't doing more to tackle corporate greed.
While we fought for certain things in the budget that are very important, they're going to give relief to people, we have some serious concerns.
Actually, I have a hard time listening to that guy too while he flashes a Rolex and Armani suits. Yeah, it's corporate greed. Yeah, that's the issue. All right, not the fact that you spend like a drunken sailor on leave. Whatever. Anyways, so there's the budget. That's just the kind of general overview to give you some context as to what we're talking about here. So let's get into what's the deal here when it comes to veterans. Let's just go into the first thing that I want to highlight, which is an email from the Shadow Minister. Sounds pretty cool, eh? The Shadow Minister of Veterans Affairs, Blake Richards. I'm on his mailing list, and it's insightful stuff. So the Trudeau and Freeland put out their federal budget, and based on what is actually in the budget, they looked into the budget documents and were shocked to see that there was hardly anything at all related to veterans. So the Standing Committee on Veterans Affairs has tabled no less than 3 reports in the House of Commons, and the recommendations on improving the lives of veterans and addressing issues with Veterans Affairs. So not only was this addressed in this year's budget, not only was none of this addressed in this year's budget, but last year Veterans Affairs Canada turned in $1 billion from its budget that it hadn't spent. So we're going to get into this. We'll get into this in a hot minute. And then lastly, the only funds announced were funds to commemorate events such as the 80th anniversary of the D-Day landings. While commemorating the service and sacrifice of our veterans is important, there are so many other issues veterans have raised that went ignored. Not only is the government continuing to disregard by wasting their tax money, but they are also sending a clear message to veterans: you aren't a priority. Yeah, of course. When you have a paragraph in a 400-page document, clearly it's not important. So it's just going to be status quo, even though there's an extra $1 billion that hasn't been spent. The issues that we're bringing up and we're continuing to bring up, and the show is helping bring up, are really not on the agenda whatsoever. And those are things like extra support for mental health, clearing the backlog of all the uh, cases for injured while being in service. Um, we're now looking at things like toxic exposure. We're also looking at, well, are you compensating individuals that got injured during the jab? Are you doing that? These are all things that are going to start piling up. There's lawsuits by the Valor Action Legal Center that are piling up as well. Are you going to take care of those veterans? What's going on? So none of these things have been taken into consideration. And I'm going to now move over to what the Standing Committee on Veterans Affairs is, because I didn't know this was the case, but this is something that you can go check out. It's very governmental. So they have all the minutes and everything here, but you can see what they're talking about here. Meeting, transition to civilian life, experience of women veterans, subject matter supplementary estimates, don't know what that is, national monument to Canada's mission in Afghanistan, briefing on trauma-informed practices. So they're talking, and the folks that are on the committee are listed here. So, members of parliament from all sides of the aisle. So these are things that are going on. Just if you're not tracking, and that's what I'm hoping to do here, just bring some visibility to that. Like, this is our government. You can participate. So you just need to talk to your MPs and stuff and get that on the agenda. So moving on from there, we're going to look at what the Legion had to say. So the Legion was a bit spicy in this review on the 16th of April this year. The Royal Canadian Legion is encouraged by crucial financial and conceptual commitments in the 2024 federal budget as they relate to veterans and defense. I like this is the shit sandwich, right? Come out with a little bit of, hey, this is pretty good, but yet alarmed by the lack of ready-to-go plans and actions to immediately tackle ongoing issues affecting still serving and retired Canadian Armed Forces members. Cool. So moving on, the Legion is pleased to note new investments such as for the Veteran and Family Wellbeing Fund. I want to just make a comment on that. Yeah, I'm very appreciative that I'm a recipient. My company is a recipient for the Athena program. However, this is a really good opportunity for the government and Veterans Affairs to have a really big splash. But from what I'm seeing, the marketing on it sucks. And then on top of that, I don't know when the next round of funding is coming up. There's no clear guidelines. I get an email when it opens up. It's a typical government-run program that's run poorly, in my opinion. There could be so much more done with this, but most people don't even know it exists. On top of that, those that have gotten money from it are kind of in the dark as to like when the next round of funding is. Who do we contact? These are things that just aren't made clearly aware. So that's a big critique I have of the Family Wellbeing Fund, is that it's all kinds of money, but I don't think most people even know about it. And if there's $1 billion getting returned, part of it is because funds like this aren't being used. And just to comment on that one layer further, if there's $1 billion not being used, like that means that if you haven't put in your claims yet and you have the opinion like, oh, you know what, I want it to serve other veterans that are more in need, and you got to change that opinion. There's clearly money there. So some of the things that they outlined here was there's a housing issue that needs to be addressed. So there's a commitment to look at repurposing Crown lands for military housing, but is not accompanied by a specific timeline. Surprise, surprise, to make a difference immediately. The government recently announced it will launch a $295 million housing strategy over 20 years. That's way too long. 20 years? 20 years? I'll be in my 60s. What purpose does that serve? $250 million over 20 years. That's irrelevant. And then mental health. There's no mention of increased to better access to mental health supports or new supports. This will do little to address CAF retention issues, to tackle operational stress injuries faced by members, and tackling the backlog. The backlog in disability claims continues, yet there is nothing in the budget to identify whether all the temporary staff will be kept on permanently to help finally eliminate this pressing problem. I'll get into another article. The answer is no, they're not going to be kept on. Okay. So lastly, the outgoing CAF ombudsman. So that's the outside of the actual CAF, so they can critique and hear complaints from the actual members, who I think is actually pretty toothless. Same with the one in Veterans Affairs. Like when we have genuine complaints, of which a lot of us have complained, especially during COVID, they did jack shit. So in my opinion, they've lost all credibility. Recently expressed his own upset publicly, and in a media opinion piece, described his experiences with the never-ending story of gathering advice and studies over many years, but seeing no concrete action when it comes to some of his office's key recommendations. Yeah, I mean, yeah, like that's pretty standard with everything Canadian. I worked at the transition center, and it was a year and a half of getting nothing done. It just didn't make any sense. And then you just get bogged down, and then you turn apathetic. You realize there's no point. So I'm just going to sit here and collect my paycheck. So this is the Canadian way. I think we all know that, especially if you're not a staff officer and you were an NCO or a junior officer. We all know everything gets done at our level only because we make it happen. And then at the higher up level, it's just everything grinds to a halt because it goes through a million different bureaucratic processes. So no change here. This isn't surprising. And then lastly, if we're looking at the backlog and like why we have $1 billion that's going back to the feds, this is why. So in this article here, it's just showing that Backlog targeted as Veterans Affairs reports nearly $1 billion for ex-soldiers wasn't spent. So this is from January 31st, 2023. Let's not forget. But it's still something that happens regularly. This literally happened in 2013 with a conservative government. So it's not a liberal or conservative thing. It's a Canadian thing. When it comes to Veterans Affairs, it's like one of the only departments that sends back money. How the hell is that possible? We have so many issues. But as the article states, and I'll just share some of the main highlights here. But everyone is convinced, with Royal Canadian Legion Dominion President Bruce Julian saying that in an email that his organization was surprised and concerned to learn that the budget lapsed at Veterans Affairs and is demanding more clarity on the reasons for the unspent funds. So they fell short of heeding parliamentary budget officer Yi Jiru, and we're talking about they, as in the Liberal government, warning in 2020 that the government would need to keep most of the temporary staff through 2025 to properly deal with the backlog. Giroux also said that at the time that the government could have eliminated the entire backlog by the end of 2021 by hiring 400 additional employees on top of those already under contract, which would have added $159 million to the budget. The Liberals did not follow that recommendation. Yeah, because they don't care. They just don't care. Your actions speak louder than words. So you don't care. Just say so. I mean, Trudeau already said you're asking for more than we can give. To a veteran. Shout out to Brock. He said that. What do you expect then from the government? Of course they're not going to do anything. They don't give a shit. So plain and simply, veterans are waiting for services and benefits, and that is the money that the government is giving back, said Vaillancourt, who has called for Macaulay's resignation, who is the former Veterans Affairs Minister, over a recent rehabilitation services contract between the department and the outside company. Oh, wait, hold on a sec. What is he talking about here? I think this is PCVRS, a whole other episode that I am working on, which is not serving us. So how much of that budget is going to PCVRS, or how much did they save in the budget by subcontracting to somebody like PCVRS, who in my opinion is just a money grab and just grift and corruption at the federal level, 100%. So look, that's the kind of nature of what we're dealing with here in terms of the veteran landscape, and the fact that the federal government really doesn't give two shits about what happens to us. So I'd love to know, what do you think? Does the federal government actually care about veterans issues? And let's say they were hypothetically to care. What should they be caring about? I'd love to hear what you think. Please drop some ideas that you have in the comments, and let's start the conversation. If you're wondering, hey, where'd that slick new logo come from that's behind you? You can find Derek and his awesome work at his website, which I'm dropping down here in the description. Definitely want to go check him out and get your own. Awesome dude, and definitely appreciate the work there, Derek. So big 2 thumbs up to you. All right, so that's it for me. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and hit the bell notification for future episodes. And as always, train hard, fight easy. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.